9 to 10:30.
Hi, I'm Tracy Hales-Vass, writer, retired professor of creative writing, and founder of One Book, One Community. I now host Right on Four Corners every Wednesday, 10:30 to 11, when I'll talk to local and regional authors. So please join me Wednesdays here on 90.9 FM KSJE Farmington.
KSJE is supported by San Juan Regional Medical Center, here to meet your urgent and emergent medical needs, whether they are COVID-19 related or not. Medical emergencies happen when you least expect them, whether it's a stroke, heart attack, illness, or injury. San Juan Regional Medical Center's caregivers are here to provide care to you and your loved ones. Find out more online at sanjuanregional.com. "11 minutes past 8 o'clock. It's Thursday morning, December 10th. Good morning, everybody. I'm Scott Michlin. Thanks for tuning in to KSJE, 90.9 FM over the air here in San Juan County, 103.3 FM over the air in Durango, Colorado, and streaming everywhere from our website at ksje.com. Welcome also to our viewers who are watching our visual radio program. We got the stream going. It's running out to the KSJE Facebook page, our YouTube channel, and even our Twitter account this morning. So however you made your way here, we are glad that you are with us because we're talking about economic development in the next few moments. My guest, Arvin Trujillo, is standing by from Four Corners Economic Development. We'll be talking about a number of initiatives he is working on for local businesses and much, much more. That is coming up in the next few moments right here on KSJE, so we hope you'll stay tuned for that. Then, of course, at 9 a.m., it is our COVID-19 Community Information Program here on KSJE. At 9, we're streaming the program live to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter today. Megan Cullop, my co-host, will be here with me, and this morning we're talking to Secretary Bill McCamley from the state of New Mexico, State Workforce Solutions Department, about unemployment improvements in New Mexico and some of the benefits that the state has passed for the unemployed. That's coming up this morning, and we'll also get an update from Dr. Bob Underwood, who is the Chief Medical Officer at San Juan Regional Medical Center. He'll be joining us for an update coming up this morning, 9 a.m. on Facebook and YouTube. Of course, a rebroadcast this afternoon on the radio at 5:06 p.m. on KSJE and KSJE.com. On the radio at 9, it is Roving with the Arts, our classical music program. Mick Hess is taking us roving today. He is featuring some holiday music from Europe on the program today, so we hope you'll check that out and enjoy that for some holiday favorites coming up at 9:06 on KSJE. Don't forget, of course, in addition to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, you can always find us on Instagram as well. And speaking of the holidays, what more to get you into the holiday spirit than maybe our weather forecast for the next couple of days? Outside right now, we have mostly cloudy skies in San Juan County. It's 27 degrees here at KSJE at San Juan College. The wind chill is about 21 degrees as winds are gusting about 4 miles per hour. Not too bad out there this morning. The forecast, though, we just call for increasing clouds today with a chance of rain and snow showers on and off throughout the day today with a high of 41 in Farmington, 23 overnight. It'll be, again, cloudy tomorrow and Friday with a high of 40 degrees with more chances for rain and snow on Friday, an overnight low of 14, and maybe some lingering rain and snow showers on Saturday with a high of 38 and a low of 16. Partly sunny skies on Sunday, but colder temperatures, 33 for a high on Sunday, and just temperatures mostly in the 30s for the first part of next week with overnight lows in the teens. And it's going to be chilly, but we could certainly use the moisture, so we're not going to complain about that. Let me introduce my guest who is standing by, as I mentioned, to talk with me about economic development this morning. Back for his regular visit with me from Four Corners Economic Development, Arvin Trujillo is joining us this morning. Arvin, good morning.
Good morning, Scott. Good to see you.
Nice to see you. Thank you very much. The technology is working so we can see each other, so that's always exciting. And
yes,
want to talk a little bit about some of the things that you've been busy working on. And you mentioned to me before we came on the air this morning, the BRE, there's a Business Retention and Expansion focus from ForSed. And so this is something that is certainly taking on even increased importance, I would think, now with this COVID-19 pandemic that we're seeing just really impacting a lot of local businesses, not just here in San Juan County, but throughout our state, throughout our country, really.
Yes, Scott, we moved forward on looking at how we can best support our small businesses. But one thing that we found was that we really didn't have a lot of information about our local small businesses. And when I say local, I'm looking at San Juan County.
Right.
So as a part of our strategic efforts, one of the areas that we wanted to look at were partnerships and looking at how we can help small businesses. And so one of our goal teams, our first goal team, took on this business retention and expansion effort. And this included Nancy Shepard, who's with Structured by Design, Jeremiah Hayes with James Corporation, Carmen Martinez with the Small Business Development Administration, Steve Gray with who's our ForSed chair, and Scott Bird, who's also our business manager and a consultant also in the region. We basically have been the team that has been moving forward with this effort, working in conjunction with the University of Minnesota to really begin to interview businesses and to get information that we can begin to determine what are those areas that we need to be focusing on here to not only to assist, but to help promote our small businesses here in San Juan County.
Very good. And Arvin, let me ask you a little bit about what you're learning as you hear from some of these small businesses. Obviously, it may be difficult to talk with them about maybe pre-pandemic numbers and then post-pandemic numbers, right? Because we know there's that the COVID-19 has really thrown off a lot of issues for our small businesses, whether it's employment or profits or even being able to keep the doors open, lights on, right?
Yes, and again, what we've done is we've looked at ways to begin to kind of stage our questioning, looking at anywhere from 3 years in the past to where we are just before the pandemic struck to where the pandemic is right now. What we're beginning to see is, again, yes, we see a lot of businesses struggle at this point, but also we're beginning to also notice that there are resources out there that I think a lot of our small businesses are not aware of. Definitely came back in some cases that we really need to uptake our communication effort with our small businesses, work on developing that, and begin to look at things from a whole county standpoint. How do we begin to connect the county, the different municipalities, including Shiprock, who is on the Navajo Reservation? How do we connect our communities here in San Juan County so that we can begin to work together? We're beginning to notice that there are some common issues beginning to pop out. We are going to do a formal report on all of this. The University of Minnesota's Business Retention and Expansion Program will be doing that for us. And from that, we'll be able to get really good information on what our small businesses are looking for, what should we be focusing on in terms of support, in terms of marketing, and even in terms of new opportunities here in the region. And so again, that's kind of what we're looking at, and really beginning to lean on the University of Minnesota, because they've been doing this for about 25 years up in the state of Minnesota. They've been assisting communities there within their state, but also within the surrounding states around Minnesota. They've seen some really good success from doing this type of a program, getting input from the local businesses, and then acting upon those on that input. And again, much like we've done through our other work here at ForSed, we'll be going back to the public, to the community, and sharing what we found and in partnership with our communities begin to determine what's the best route for us. What should we be doing? How should we be doing it? How do we get our communities involved in meeting some of the challenges that are confronting us today and what we anticipate coming in the future? Because, one of the big messages that I've been, again, stressing, Scott, is the fact that in my mindset, we have a limited amount of time because right now, things are happening with San Juan generating station.
Right. Big
And
things.
we got a deadline of 2022 right now, but we're working hard to extend that. We've got a deadline with the Four Corners Power Plant of 2031. We don't know when oil and gas will begin its rebound and how oil and natural gas prices will look into the future. So again, we've got to really focus on what is that plan B? How do we begin to diversify our economy? And how do we begin to work forward in bringing new opportunities here into the region?
Right. Very true. And let me ask you about, you mentioned this report, Arvin, that you're working with the University of Minnesota on, and that report then would be done with what? What are you going to do with it? You're going to give it, publish it, make it available to the public, provide it to the local governments? Is that kind of the idea of putting this all together in one place where folks can kind of see what the focus is?
Yes. And what we've also said is right now we've done a little over 60 interviews throughout the county. Each of the businesses and industries that we've interviewed will get a report. And what we are going to be doing is sharing this report with as many people as we have as we can here in the county. And then from there, we are going to the next phases. There's going to be a review, and there'll be a discussion on what kind of projects should we be looking at. And again, all of that's going to involve community input, and we want the community involved in that. And then from there, we'll be also having a retreat. And from that retreat, we'll determine what projects we want to work on, and then who will be working on those projects. And so again, this is going to be a full community effort, and that's the only way we'll be able to make this thing work effectively. And so that's kind of the plan that we're looking at. And we anticipate this next phase. We look at once we get this data, we look to complete our interviews by the end of this month. We'll get that data to the University of Minnesota. We anticipate getting that report back in the February timeframe. We'll start our meetings late February, early March, and we hope to have projects identified and ready to go that would include the input of the public by the April timeframe, and then start that next phase of this whole effort.
Very good. My guest this morning, Arvin Trujillo, is with me. He is the CEO of Four Corners Economic Development. He's speaking to us from his offices here in Farmington, talking about the BRE, the Business Retention and Expansion Program by ForSed. And Arvin Trujillo, I want to ask you just a bit to remind us why it's such an important thing to focus on this business retention and expansion. In economic development circles, I think I understand it correctly, that it's sometimes, I don't want to say easier, but maybe more effective to look at your local businesses and help them to continue to be successful and expand and hire more people and provide more jobs than it is to maybe entice an out-of-town business to come in and set up shop. Is that kind of the theory behind what we're talking about this morning?
Yes, it is. Because again, statistically, what we found is that those regions that have really expanded, about 80% of their expansion was due to focusing and supporting local businesses that were already in place there in that particular region. Because again, those companies and those industries already have the infrastructure in place. They have a lot of the items in place. They've got the land, they've got the building, they've got all these things in place. And so if we can help them and assist them in first sustaining what they do have, but from that point begin to expand their current operations. Other regions have seen tremendous success in doing that and building new opportunities for that particular region. We still want to recruit. We still want to bring in new industries. We're still looking to bring in new businesses, but there's a lot more work that has to be done in order to allow that to begin to not only begin to develop, but it's got to then mature and stabilize. And so again, we already have companies that are in those positions. And so that's kind of the philosophy behind the business retention and expansion effort here in San Juan County, as well as what's been done throughout the nation.
Sure. Understood. Well, let me switch gears a little bit and ask you a bit about local businesses and statewide businesses during COVID-19. You and I talked briefly before we came on the air this morning about the state's kind of reopening plan. And I think to her credit, the governor has gone not from a statewide open-closed plan to county by county as cases decrease, hopefully, and things can move from red to yellow to green. And this would be a positive thing for businesses large and small if the numbers kind of get down to where we need them to be. Isn't that kind of the idea?
Well, again, that's the idea. Seeing that the governor has moved to a county by county process, I think that allows us to kind of get our hands around how do we begin to look at San Juan County as a whole. How can we bring our communities together to begin to tackle this new challenge before us? And again, the idea here is how do you balance health and safety aspects with keeping our businesses open? They're not exclusive of each other. They complement one another because, as we continue to work on these numbers and bring them down, we have the opportunities to have our businesses open up and operate. We can begin to work with each other to meet some of these challenges before us. Because again, the idea here, from my vantage point, is how do we keep our small businesses open? How do we help them so that we can not only partake of the goods and services that they provide, but again, people can continue to work through these times, and we learn how to work with one another. At some point in time, we will get through this, but until that happens, we still got to figure out how to work together to get from point A to point B. And again, to me, this is an opportunity that allows us to kind of get our hands around this, and we're not looking at something that is statewide and really out of our control. Here, I think we've got some ability to begin to really focus our efforts on how we can look at the numbers. How do we educate ourselves about these numbers? That's one thing that I'm doing right now. We've been meeting with a number of agencies and a number of organizations at this point to see how do we begin to strategize our efforts. And a part of that is really educating ourselves about what this positivity rate of 5%, what that means, how that number is generated, the 8 cases per 100,000. Again, what does that mean? How do we reflect that in our everyday work? How do we look at this? Because again, like many of our fellow county residents here, I, along with many others, we've been affected by this virus, whether it be our immediate family or extended family or even our friends. And so again, looking at how we can be safe and how we can promote that safety, and at the same time do it in a manner that will continue to sustain our economic efforts to keep businesses open and to open schools and to allow them to have our children back in school and doing the things that they need to do in terms of learning and gaining that education that they need. So again, there's a lot of things that are coming around this, and again, it allows us again to really feel that we have something that we now have some control over. It's a matter of just learning how we can do that and learning how do we best coordinate with one another.
Very true. Well, and let me share the map from the state's COVID-19 dashboard, which is updated every other week. So it shows our state mostly in red. I'm brushing up on my New Mexico geography. San Miguel County is the county displayed in yellow there. That's the home of Las Vegas, New Mexico. They are currently in the yellow status, if you will, to allow some of their businesses to reopen. The rest of our state, though, is in red. But I guess, again, this provides kind of clear guidance, right, Arvin Trujillo, to local businesses as to what they can and cannot do as we move in and out of these different levels or different restrictions. And of course, all of us are looking forward and certainly feeling positive about these vaccines that are coming out that may be approved as soon as today for use in the United States, that maybe provide an end to a lot of these lockdowns. But until that happens, we still kind of have to be safe for our customers, our neighbors, our families, and everybody else. But it certainly does give at least some guidance for businesses who I know have kind of been pulling their hair out trying to figure out what more they can do to keep their doors open.
And that's kind of what we're really looking at right now is developing what is that bar? How do we begin to understand what goals do we need to meet in order to make some changes and allow our businesses to stay open? At times, I've had that same frustration because it seems like you get the numbers coming down and you're trying to figure out where these numbers are coming from, and different designations change or different orders come down from our state capitol. And I understand, where they're coming from and what they're trying to do. But again, I think if they can, in this process, they're allowing the different locales, the different counties to really begin to take hold on what they're doing and see how we can all work together in order to meet these challenges as far as this virus is concerned. Again, I've been talking with folks who are very much in tune with our local hospitals, and again, they're seeing the effects of the current pandemic, and things are beginning to fill up here at San Juan Regional, down at the IHS hospital down in Shiprock. And so again, these are things that we're wanting to really focus on because that will help alleviate the stress and the pressure that are on our healthcare workers as well as our resources and our facilities here in the region. And so again, I'm really beginning to see how all of this is connected. And we've just got to begin to figure out how do we best strategize our efforts in order to work as one county to try to meet these challenges, keep our businesses open, keep people safe, allow people to feel safe when they go to these businesses, and again, meet our economic development goals because the clock isn't stopping. San Juan Generating Station is still looking at 2022.
That's right.
Four Corners Power Plant is still looking at 2031. We still have no idea what's going to be happening with oil and gas. And so these things are there, and we've got to find ways to continue our efforts. I've been working with the Navajo Nation to keep a lot of these things going. And like I said, we're reaching out to Shiprock to help those small businesses too, to help find ways that we can provide support, give information, provide some type of education, maybe even further the different processes that we have in place so that we can enhance our capabilities to alleviate some of the stress that is on our businesses and start looking at how we may be able to help and in the long run also prepare for that point when vaccinations do become available. Because as we all begin to work together as a group and a team, when these vaccinations become available, who gets them? Where are they going to be provided at? Getting all this type of information out and help coordinating that effort is going to be vital too, in order for us as a county to see the benefits of having the vaccination and having safe practices in place.
Very true. You mentioned the Navajo Nation, of course, and I know you've been working very hard with your colleagues with the Navajo Nation about how they can be helped with economic development efforts in the Navajo Nation portion of San Juan County. And certainly their government has issued a longer kind of stay-at-home order. Their order extends through December 28th because of the large amount of cases. Businesses are open at some reduced capacity, reduced hours, and I know the tribe has been very vocal about reminding folks to just go out when absolutely necessary, essential travel only, and doing these weekend lockdowns, of course, of no travel on or off the reservation, and all those types of things to try to, again, control their numbers as well. You mentioned the San Juan Generating Station, and I wanted to ask you just a bit about some new recent reports, Arvin Trujillo, about some approvals of some solar replacement power. That was a P&M plan to replace the power they're losing by going away from coal-based electric generation and replacing it with some solar fields in the Central Consolidated School District. While it's not as much power as is being lost from the generating station, it certainly is an investment in the community and an investment in renewable power for one of the very first major projects of this type. So that's got to be a good thing from an economic development standpoint, isn't it?
It is. It begins to open those doors. We're looking and evaluating how we would look at that in conjunction with what the city of Farmington is doing in working with Enchant Energy, looking at possible carbon capture technology there at San Juan Generating Station. And so again, we're looking at these different things to determine how do we best move forward on all these different fronts. There are new opportunities coming out. We're wanting to evaluate those different areas. One other thing that's coming forward, Scott, is the Energy Transition Act funding.
Right.
Again, with the PRC's recent actions in approving PPA development by P&M, that is moving people closer to looking at the $20 million that was allocated in legislation as a result of these changes happening at San Juan Generating Station. So we've also been in partnership with San Juan College and really the ETA advisory group in developing an overall proposal that highlights all the different companies and projects here in San Juan County that would be possibly eligible for portions of that $20 million being awarded. And so again, we'll be looking at having meetings in the near future looking at that. And again, all of this is going to be timed on when P&M is given the approval to get the bonding portion started, and then when they choose to then release that $20 million to the state for allocation here in the greater San Juan County area.
Very good. And I know that I think there's also a solar project planned in the Shiprock area as well, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be thinking of that incorrectly.
Another project that's being looked at just north. There's one just north of, there's a couple of them. One just east of San Juan Generating Station. There's another one just north of San Juan Generating Station.
Gotcha.
And then there's another one just north of the Hogback chapter. And then there's another one being looked at up at the Navajo Mine reclaimed areas somewhere around the Morgan Lake region. And so again, those are things that are happening there. Also, on Four Corners power plants aspects, Arizona Public Service Company has a proposal in front of their Arizona Corporation Commission to go forward with an agreement with the Navajo Nation, with their community of Winslow, with those communities around the Choya power plant, as well as the Hopi tribe, to move forward with some monetary support that they're looking at in anticipation of closure in 2031. And with the Navajo Nation, that would, over the next 10 to 15 years, amount to about 114, 115 million.
Interesting.
To the Navajo Nation.
Okay.
So the Public Service Company is also working with their Corporation Commission to move forward on that.
Gotcha.
effort. And a part of that is looking at solar development there around the Four Corners power plant.
Okay. Well, that sounds like it would be a good thing for San Juan County. I know the jobs replaced aren't one to one. If you're shutting down a coal-fired power plant, it doesn't take as many people to run a solar field. But my thoughts have always been that if we could have a large-scale solar or other renewable energy type installation to kind of show that it can be done here and supported here in San Juan County, that might trigger other investments from other companies to do the same thing. I mean, we are in a perfect spot for solar power, not so much for wind, but solar seems to be a good thing to invest with it here in northern New Mexico, right?
Yes, and again, it's looking at how you can package something that with companies, because there are companies out there who are looking to relocate in areas, and as everyone's aware, we're working hard on getting a rail here in the San Juan County. We're looking at infrastructure, we're looking at the internet infrastructure development here. A part of that is if we can really get a good solar footprint, that could possibly open the doors for new industrial development too, because there are a number of large companies that are looking at solar development as a means of power for their plants and for their operations. And so that could open up new opportunities for us also.
Well, very exciting, but it is interesting times that we live in, that is for sure, Arvin Trujillo, and we are out of time this morning for our conversation, but thank you very much for joining me.
Well, thank you very much, Scott. We still got a lot working on. We got a lot that we're working on, but you know, it's good. I see a lot of good positive movement in a number of different areas, so hopefully we'll be able to bring more news to you next month.
We will look forward to it. And in the meantime, have a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you and your family, and we'll see you in January.
Okay, and the same to you and all our listeners too also.
Very true.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Thank you. That's Arvin Trujillo, everyone, CEO of Four Corners Economic Development, my guest here on KSJE. Back with more in just a moment, everyone. The time right now is 8:41. KSJE is supported by the University of Denver Graduate School of Social Work, Four Corners program. The program is accepting applications for the Advanced Standing MSW program starting this summer 2021. Students with a bachelor's degree in social work are eligible for the one-year program. Complete an application by January 15th, 2021, and the application fee is waived. Stipends in child welfare and opioid workforce expansion and Native American tuition support to eligible students are available. Find out more from Janelle.Doty, D-O-U-G-H-T-Y, at du.edu or at du.edu/